Hi, welcome. This is Nita Kruger, hostess of Infinity Within podcast, where we talk about the possibility of making your dreams come true. Now, what if you're sitting there in tears and shaking because your dreams are the furthest thing from your mind right now? You're just in survival mode. Well, I've been there. I've been living in a moment in time where it was breath to breath, moment to moment, and I honestly thought I would get swept off the cliff into the oblivion. But we can make it through. And I'm going to use every tool and every resource that I have to help you uncover the possibility in you to take the next step, the next breath, the next courageous moment. And I'm going to work on that with you today by doing some specific work around showing up, but not showing up for other people in a very codependent way, secretly raising my hand, my past self, but in working with you around showing up and prioritizing you in your life. And once you actually are really masterful at that, you are going to begin to see people filter into your life who do that same for you in a way that you've never experienced before. But everything that's going to come into your life begins with what your self-belief, your core belief of self is, and how you're actioning that. So, to start, I'm going to walk you through a visualization. Now, if you're driving or if you're walking, don't close your eyes. But if you're sitting at a desk, just close your eyes and do this visualization for me. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. And on that exhale, allow yourself to grab onto something from when you were a little tiny, tiny person. That first I want dream. I want to be a fireman. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a writer. I want to be, just grab onto something. It doesn't have to be from when you were a child. It could be from last week, something that is your soul's desire. And I know that that is already filling up your mind, and it may seem too massive. It may seem completely untouchable. But still grab onto it. Grab onto that. And either write it down somewhere or make a note of it. Make a mental note of it. And it doesn't matter what it is. There's no right or wrong. The visualization that comes into my mind is writer, right? Always. When I go back to this, my earliest childhood, I will be, I will become, was a writer. I can remember being probably about 5 or 6 years old, and the wind was blowing so strong. It's almost nighttime. The moon is up. It's in rural Oregon on a low mountain and in the United States. And it's just beautiful evening, kind of that purple hue to the night coming on. And I knew in my soul that I would write. So whatever your soul is telling you, grab onto that. Now, breathe in again. Exhale. In your mind, just allow that want, that desire, that knowing to sit there. Now allow yourself to just take a step forward into your current life, into right now. Just picture something. Maybe it's the desk that you're sitting at, or the living room that needs to be vacuumed or dusted. Okay, talking about my house again. Or maybe it's the beautiful trees that you're surrounded with because you're on a walk. Maybe it's the traffic. Something a little bit closer to real life. Now, visualize what is holding you back from that goal, that dream, that soul energy that you just touched. Something's popping into your mind. Is it a person? Is it a situation? Is it a lack of something? Is it a fear of something? Is it a missing piece of confidence? For me, it was always fear and missing confidence. I couldn't possibly become that. And I surrounded myself with people who told me that I didn't have the talent. Now, that wasn't true. And as soon as I got into a bigger, healed space of, human interaction, I got a lot of a much different response from the people around me, right? The people around me then were, you can do this. You're really good at this. This is really helpful. This is changing my life. So, whatever your soul's desire might have been, and then that initial block that came up for you, that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I don't need to know. If you want to email me or you shout them out into your car or your room and just make it declared what those two energies are, it's really, really important that you find a way to show up for yourself in this. And awareness of, that's my soul energy, want and desire, and I have a right to that. And then be really honest with yourself. That's why awareness is such a beautiful thing to grasp. Because when things aren't going our way in our life, we have to become really, really genuine in how we're looking at the situation. We can't always do that for ourselves. Oftentimes, we need an independent person, a therapist. I am a big proponent of having a therapist, taking classes, reading books, getting outside of what you know and what you've been taught by the life that you've lived, by the situations that have shaped you into who you are right now. Getting ideas outside of what those people who want you to stay exactly as you are, who want to keep you away from that soul's desire because of the changes that would be required to happen in order for you to attain it, right? So it's important for you to be really, really genuine with yourself in this moment. If that is my soul's desire, what's blocking me? And for me, the fear, the being told that I wasn't good enough, and the surrounding of dominant personalities that I served. And I kept bringing those personalities back in front of me because I was not aware of this pattern. I didn't even have a clue. I had no idea. So when we are looking at that block that just came in front of you, that person, that place, that thing, that lack of, if it's a person, are you just not able to say no to them? Are they abusive? Are they controlling? Are they mean? Do you fear their reaction? If it's a lack of money and you want to go to school to become a veterinarian, is it really a lack of money, or is it a lack of focus and dedication and prioritizing you in your own life to fill out the applications for financial aid, to seek out ways to qualify for a grant and funding and get yourself into an education path for the life that you want to have? Any time that we are faced with a situation that isn't going the way that we really, 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 like our soul is telling us it should go, we need to be focusing our view within. What is happening within me that is making me not move forward? Now, with whatever, and I hope that you have your eyes open now and you're enjoying your walk or your drive or your this or your that. But whatever popped into your mind, and maybe it was a cluster of things, but whatever popped into your mind, quite honestly, that's your first priority. And if you're sitting there going, nothing popped into my mind, nothing happened, I don't have that, I'd ask you to just pause right here, restart, go through that exercise a few times, really connect to the moment that you're in. Don't just play all the way through. Back up, start over, and connect. If I want to be over here at, say, ABC Street, and I'm way back here at V, how am I going to get to ABC Street? Your soul has a map for you to follow, but you have to become really courageously aware of what steps you need to take in order to be living for you and prioritizing you and showing up for you, because you are worthy of that. I wonder if this will resonate with anybody. When I was a child, we were very right on that poverty line. I mean, we weren't on the line. We were below the line. And to this day, I have carried forward some of those ideas from a poverty childhood, a childhood of poverty where we hauled water, we did not have indoor plumbing, we stood in the bread line at times, we cut wood for fires, we had our heat was not a heating system, it was wood heat, and it only got warm because we gathered the wood. We hunted and gathered for food to supplement our food income, or, supplement the income with actual hunted and gathered food. So that is the childhood that I grew up in. That's the existence that I grew up in. And it has been very, very intentional, driven work by my current therapist to dismantle and change the way that I look at my life. My life doesn't need to be viewed through a clearance bin, through I can only shop for markdowns, right? I mean, just like everybody, well, most everybody, I'm still cautious about what I buy, but there are things that I can buy because I want them, not because it's only things that I need that are allowed to come in front of me as an item that I may or may not purchase. And that's a huge shift on how I perceive my place in poverty versus, comfortable. So the conditionings that we have from childhood, that we're born into, that we didn't sign up for, that we had no control over, they're not necessarily ones that we need to carry with us through the rest of our life. And those conditionings could be things like we don't set boundaries. We say yes, even when it's not healthy for us to say yes. We show up for other people without regard to our own personal needs, wants, desires, our plans for our life. Heck, I know people who have careers that don't even interest them because it's what the family wanted for them and expected of them. So if a person, let's say that a person is what showed up in your, this is why I can't move forward with my original soul desire. How do you get through that? How do you get through that block of a person? Now, if they're abusive, I would encourage you, and I would just tell you, I've walked down this path of having to call an abuse hotline before and get help. I had to unlearn my survival mechanisms that attracted really gross and unhealthy dominant personalities to me, because that was just so normal for me in my nervous system. But that isn't how we're meant to live in survival for our very existence. So if it's a person, what is holding you back from calling out or reaching out or asking for help or just telling that person to stop? Stop. If it's something maybe that you feel is out of your control, because we can only control what's within us. We can only control our responses. We can only control how we show up. We can't control the externals around us. We can't control how other people are going to show up for anything or do anything or respond to anything. But this is what makes it so imperative for us to be true to ourselves and show up for ourselves first. Because we can never bring the right people around us until we're genuine with who we are to ourselves and what we want for ourselves and for our life. So when we start getting really, really aware, for those of you who've met me online, you'll know that I have Maggie the dog, Maggie the bionic dog, who's joined me in studio. So if you hear her running around, please enjoy that she's joined our coaching for the day. So back to task. If we're going to get really aware and we're going to get really genuine with ourselves, what is one thing? So you've got your soul glowing thing, whatever it may feel like, whatever color it may be, whatever vibe it's bringing you, feel into that, right? Feel the want and desire of it. Now, visualize that block. What is standing in your way? Feel into that. Does it have a good vibe? I'm thinking it doesn't. For me, it would feel almost nauseous, and like I would have physical reactions to those blocks that I used to have, be it grief, be it pain, be it dismissive, like me being dismissed, discarded, invisible, very painful, very invalidating. I don't want to feel that. So who's in control? Who's in control of whatever that block is and how that vibe and that feeling is entering me and my body and my soul? Well, right now, that person, place, or thing is fully in control of the vibe that's happening in me. And we today, we're here doing the work and just becoming aware of how to show up for ourselves. That's all today's about. We don't have to action change. We can talk about change. You can action change when we get off of here. But I really, if it's very, very uncomfortable for you to think about putting a boundary up in front of that really icky feeling, I want you to do this visualization with me. So, we're going to get into that soul glow, right? Little Nita, she's going to be a writer. And then life beats her down. Life teaches her that she's a codependent support to narcissist. That is her role in life. And that feels disgusting. Literally, it's making me feel like my nervous system is like heebie-jeebieing right now, as you can imagine, right? So whatever your block is, that vibe that's coming into you, that is not the vibe that we want for ourselves, right? That is a vibe of fear. That is a feeling of servitude or invisibility. And I want you to imagine between the negative energy that's holding you from doing whatever you want to do, I want you to just visualize sliding a glass window shut. Just slide it shut. Just visualize that. That was my Somewhat lame attempt at a window sound. But just slide it shut, pull it down, slam it down. You can look through the glass and you can still see that negative energy there. It hasn't changed. It's in fact still the same. It's probably even knocking on the window right now. But you don't have to open the window. You leave the window closed. I want you to, while that window's still closed, look over here to your left or to your right or above you. But I want you to look where your soul energy, where that desire that you're working towards, where is that? Look at that and feel it brighten. Feel it get a little bit stronger because the window is shut. You're safe. Feel the power that you have the right to be, the right to do, the right to achieve, the right to show up, the right to choose your needs, your wants, your desires, the right to say no. I want you to just feel that for a moment. Allow your soul to infuse you like when you were a little tiny kid wearing, like a Wonder Woman costume or a Batman costume and you were invincible. Feel into that energy for a moment and then visualize yourself pulling the shade on the glass, putting a stronger barrier in place, closing the curtains, putting up the shutters, nailing a board, whatever kind of barrier that you want to put in between you and whatever's holding you back, telling that thing that it has no power over you, that it has no energy over you. It cannot stop you from marching forward in doing what is right for you. Nobody gets to discern what's right for you except you. Sit with that visualization just for a moment and come back to this visualization as often as you need to, because one of the most critical things that we can do in becoming really self-aware and in choosing paths, in opening paths, in creating our possibility of the path opening to get us to that soul glow, is recognizing when opportunities are coming in front of us. And this is an opportunity for you to learn and step into your courage, step into your power, and close those doors, those windows, those curtains, those shades when you need to. Because you have the right to do that. You have a right to a safe, healthy, loving, self-respecting life where you show up for you consistently, not once, but consistently. Now, one of the really, really, really big, scary things about showing up for yourself is the reaction of people around you. Now, and I'm not going to lie to you. The more you begin to show up for yourself, the more the landscape of the people, places, and things around you will change. And the reason for that, and keep the visualization, you don't have to have your eyes closed and be sitting in some kind of, yoga pose, but just keep that visualization going in your mind of you shutting the curtain, pulling the glass window down. I use glass first because I think that it is critical that we are aware that we cannot typically just kick somebody out of our life and have it work or be reasonable. For instance, if you're co-parenting, you do not have a healthy co-parenting relationship, you need to keep that relationship visible through a barrier of glass. Okay? If you have family relationships and you don't want to be stalked into eternity, you want to have just a relationship with a family member that is on more even ground, where they're not having access to take. But trust me, if you have any narcissists in your family and you can't just cut them out, you'll understand that part of it. That's a whole different conversation. But it is incredibly important that you keep view of those roadblocks, those threats, those people who are unhealthy. And you need to keep view of them so you can make sure that you're doing what you need to do to move forward on the life that you want to live, on the path that you need to go. And possibility, being aware and open, self-aware and self-open to like if you say no to one thing, it's going to free up some space and time. So then can you work on that soul glowing thing if you open up space and time for you? Yeah, you absolutely can. You absolutely can. And the thing that's really, really fascinating about becoming more giving, right? Giving credit, time, space, acceptance, love to yourself, to your soul, over a course of time, because it doesn't happen in one time. You have to do the work. You have to show up for you time and time and time and time and time again. Is how much, like from that soul glow to the life that you really start to live and enjoy and discover and open yourself up to true happiness. It's how alike they are, but maybe also in an incredibly different way than what you envision. Because here's the beauty of it. As you begin to open yourself up to new ideas that you were not born into. If you were born into a home that was traumatic and you open yourself up and you learn how to strip that trauma out of you, and you learn with the guidance of a trained therapist, for instance, psychodynamic therapy right now, for me is doing wonders to reprogram, almost at a cellular level, safe, loving, healthy relationships. You can walk into a life that you can't even begin to understand or imagine right now. And you can't begin to understand it or imagine it because it's so foreign. It's like if you tried, say you don't speak Russian, and somebody came up to you and was speaking Russian, and they expected you to know everything they had just said, you wouldn't have a clue, right? Your nervous system is speaking the language that it's been trained to speak. Your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit are speaking the language that your childhood, your upbringing, your conditioning has taught you to speak. And what I'm offering you is the opportunity to strip away everything that you've learned and put back self-loving, self-respecting, self-building behaviors. Those behaviors create change within, and that is what allows us the courage to open up new doors and walk down new paths. Paths where anything, truly anything is possible. I know it's a little hard to understand or believe or even, dare I say, buy into. But as my own podcast history will attest, from a life of trauma and pain and confusion and unspeakable atrocities that I've only even barely begun to talk about openly in public, you can hear the pain and you can hear the work as I've gone through it year by year by year and gotten to this point today on episode 47 or 48, where I truly am beginning to embody the powerful woman that I am and bring that forward so that I can help other people who are locked in confusion and trauma become self-aware so that they can begin to appreciate and dive into the possibility within them. Because I know that your soul is there and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous. And I say that because I sat in a space for a year and a half wondering if I even had a soul. Not because I was an evil person, but because it had been beaten out of me. It had been taken out of me. The insidious disease of narcissistic abuse and its relationship to codependency just stole it right out of me, because my only path to survival was as a codependent showing up in dominant relationships. And I was really good at it. I was wonderful. But I have worked incredibly hard to become powerful and self-confident and self-believing and self-trusting. And I evidence that through my actions and behaviors. And so now when I slide that window shut, whew, girl, it's a good feeling. Or guy. I'm going to have you go through some breathing, and we're going to take just a quick break, and I'll come back on the other side and we'll finish up this conversation of this short, I don't know if you want to call it a commercial or just a short break. Let's do that. We're just going to do a short break, but do some breathing, just some deep in, hold that, visualize the glowing soul energy that you want to be at. Exhale, shut the door, shut the window, shut the curtains, shut the shutters, shut the screen door even, right? Start somewhere. Bring the glass down on the negative energy that is holding you back from the you that you want to be. Hey, welcome to break time. We're not back at the episode yet. This is literally just a moment. It's a moment for you to just pause and feel into you. I hope you're having an amazing day. I hope that something unexpected and wonderful falls right into your path. And I hope that you are present enough to see it. I hope that blessings that you can't even imagine begin to line up for you, because you're worthy of that. Whether you believe it, know it, or understand it, you are worthy of that. We're going to get back to the episode in just a moment, but for 5 seconds, I'm going to give you complete silence. And I'm going to thank you. Thanks for joining. Enjoy the second half. Welcome back. How was that visualization over the break? Did it bring up any thoughts or feelings or action plans? Did your nervous system simply go, nope, and put up a wall? It's important for you to kind of sit with this for a moment and see the resistance level that you have. Some changes that we want to make are just a simple thing of really building the belief system that you can do this and tackling that fear and moving forward. But some changes are wired, like hardwired into our nervous system, and they're going to require a larger effort, a coordinated effort, an intentional effort. When we decide to bring intention to our actions, that's when we really get to going. That's an exciting time, because that means that we really want to realize a different life. We want to see the possibility within our soul realized and actualized, no longer just hidden away. We want to become the star of our life. So sitting with that visualization and seeing that glass slide down and close on the negative energy, giving you space to choose you. How does that feel? I remember feeling terror at some of those kind of pivotal moments in the path to being the woman that I am right now. Now, again, if you scroll back to 3 years ago and you listen to those first few podcasts, you are going to witness a woman in pain, breath to breath, moment to moment, confused and hurt. And it is when you can take all of that trauma of the past, that confusion and hurt, and you can weave it into a mat that you stand firmly on now. You've built a foundation on all of those experiences of the past. And you may not be proud of them, you may not love them, but they're just a part of you and you accept them. But you've also garnered the skill set and the ability to detach from those as an actual part of your nervous system and a part of your soul, a part that stalls you out, that controls you, that stops you. Because I'll tell you what, there is absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing except for your mindset and your intention to action or not action that is keeping you from your dreams. If you have the ability to jot down or even make a mental note of just one or two of those feelings, fear, humbled, ashamed, happy, gleeful, joyous, hilarious, terrified, scared. No matter where those feelings are, they are valid and they need to be felt, seen, and heard. Because it is in recognizing the validity of wherever we are at in our journey that we will find our success and we will build a path forward. You are that courageous. I know it. And I hope that you're beginning to just see the glimmer that you know it too, that anything is possible for your life, and that is your birthright. By the very fact that you were born, all possibilities are open to you. You start to kind of, narrow those down. I'm 54 with some severe injuries I'm recovering from. I'm pretty sure astronaut is no longer on the list. Climbing some serious mountains that were on my literal physical climbing mountains to-do list. Might have to scale those back. At this point, I will settle and be thrilled with a recovery that allows me to do some decent hikes. I would feel like that was a major life win. It's okay to learn how to adjust, right? Adjust those soul goals. That's a hard one to say. But what isn't okay is to allow somebody else to simply steal all of our energy, to steal our future, to steal our path forward. And even if it's not a somebody in front of us, if it's programming from the past, if it's programming that no longer serves us, and it's programming that doesn't lead us forward, that is what we have to work on and what has to go away. If we were to look at just a quick, we're going to line these up in our head. We have our soul energy. We have our block, our negative thing that's keeping us from actioning that next step to our soul energy, to unleashing whatever it is that we really just know we're supposed to be doing. And then we have that no, that great big thing in front of us that is just consuming us, and it is our first hurdle, and we have to get rid of that hurdle. And then over here we have how it makes us feel, right? We have all three of those lined up. Now I'm going to ask you to just allow wherever your mind goes, what is the visualization of an action that you could do to the thing on the other side of the window, to that negative energy on the other side of the window? Could it be that you tell somebody no, like we discussed in segment 1? Or could it be something a little bit stronger, like, I need to learn how to set boundaries, I need to take a class, or I need to read a book, or I need to go to therapy. I'm in a dangerous situation. For instance, if you're in an abusive relationship, saying no isn't quite as easy as it would be to saying no to somebody asking you to bake cookies for the cookie drive for the 8th time this year, and you just don't have the time, but you're going to stay up all night and do it anyway. Saying no to that, while that might be difficult, it's not as dangerous to your daily living as it would be to saying no to an abuser. Maybe you are in an addictive space. Maybe you are addicted to gambling or drugs or sex or alcohol, and you really need to get to grips, right? You need to get clean with whatever it is that is keeping you tied to the space that you're at in life. Whatever that negative energy is, what's the one action that you had pop into your mind? Go ahead and just say it out loud right now. For me, it was get to therapy. First, it was just be aware. Let me get really real with myself. The very first thing was being realistic about what was happening to me. Well, the thing on the other side of the window was cruelty and mean. And I refused. I was letting shame stall me out. I was letting, I have to make this work. I was letting really freaking codependent behaviors keep me in really unhealthy spaces. And that was in every layer of my life, from intimate to professional and friendships in between. And it took me a long time. It took me like 2 years of therapy to go like, oh God, I'm codependent. And to begin to do the work around that. So starting really, really small. What is one tiny action? And maybe it is just that you became aware of it today. And that's enough, because becoming aware of something is what allows us to begin to create an actionable plan to change. Now remember, it takes a long time. It takes months of repetitive positive behavior to make a change. And right now, all we're wanting to do is to get the idea in our mind that we have the option to change that. That we've identified a negative energy that's holding us back from being on the road to our pure potential. For some people, that's going to be enough for today. And in fact, that's a whole journaling episode right there. But maybe you have actually come up with something that you want to action. Like, I want to call the domestic abuse hotline. I want to write a resume and try to get a better job. I want to get into therapy and begin having deeper conversations and learning more. I want to buy a book and learn algebra. I have kids in college. Whatever that action plan is, what's your 1, 2, 3? I can do that. So let's do that together. If I walk you down 1, 2, 3, say it out loud. We're going to do that together. 1, 2, 3, therapy. 1, 2, 3. What is your 1, 2? What's your 3? What's your 1, 2, 3? Say it. Right? Because if we reduce things to just this boom, 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 do, boom, 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 do, it gives us something for our brain and our body and our mind and our spirit and our soul to grab onto and action. I remember somewhere way, way back there's an actual podcast that talks about this. It talks about the first time I dialed the domestic abuse hotline. I was breathless. And it took me so many times of 1, 2, 3, do it. I didn't even realize that's what I was doing, but that is what I was doing. I was like, I'm going to push the dial. I'm going to dial. This time I'm going to hit dial. This time I'm going to hit dial. This time I'm going to hit dial, dial. And I dialed. And the phone rang, and on the other end was a person. And they just sat with me. And that was enough for that day. That was enough. It was enough that I actually admitted outwardly that I was in an unhealthy, dangerous life situation. I wasn't happy. It is a human right that we should attain and have a reasonable amount of soul-filling happiness in every given day. Right? Sometimes it'll be laden with grief and strife of life situations, but we should be able to welcome laughter and joy into our life. And so many of us are not able to do that. We miss out on that simple, basic birthright because of the traumatic situations that we were born into or trained into. That doesn't mean that it isn't our responsibility to change that and to create that for ourselves, because it is. It is your responsibility. It is my responsibility to change what does not serve me. No matter how scary, every single thing that I have stood and faced, no matter how terrifying it got for a moment, it only lasted a moment. In the blink of an eye, those horrific things that happened to me are now but the blink of an eye in a 54-year life. Whatever is happening right now is passable. You will survive this moment, and you cannot foresee the beautiful things, the beautiful life that is waiting for you. It is so important for you to work on this tool, this self-technique of building the resiliency, the visualization, the memory, the muscle memory, if you will, to become self-aware. And the more and more and more self-aware that you can become in your life, the more that you will move down and move through and open up doors that lead you to that soul need, that soul want, that soul desire. I think one of the greatest disappointments, and I think I was probably in my mid-40s, had just had my 5th baby, and I realized that this, as much as I love and identify with my love of being a mom to children here and to one child in heaven, that isn't enough to be the sole identity of being a mom or the professional achievements that I had achieved. And the core reason that it came down to was that I was unsafe, unhappy, unsatisfied in my soul, which actually was unrecognizable to me. That is how detached I was from the life that I was living. From the outside, the life I was living looked perfect because I worked so freaking hard for it to look perfect. On the inside, it was like walking death, fighting suicidal ideation in myself and my children, fighting self-harm in my children actively, in me, in my past, and so many more disconnections that nobody really wants to talk about. But the reality is, people hurt. And the path to happiness means that you deal with those hurts and you work through those hurts one by one. You show up with whatever is on the other side of that glass window and you have those hard, difficult, accountable conversations, or you just shut the window and you move on. No explanation provided sometimes. Because often when we move away from our trauma cycles and our trauma circles, where we are repeating those same personalities and those same energies through us, we just keep attracting those kind of people, or situations or places or things back into us. For instance, danger, right? Danger seeking, thrill seeking, putting our life on the line, not being realistic about the danger that we're in. That would be just one example that pops to mind that I'm very familiar with. I'll do an episode about that in the future. That's self-sabotaging, right? Until we are called out on it and we are forced to look at it and forced to be reckoned with change, we're going to stay in that circle of energy that just keeps hurting us in the same way. And that energy is not going to care about your why. It isn't going to care about closure. It isn't going to care about a healthy conversation. It isn't going to care. It isn't going to fit your needs and your expectations that, quite honestly, we all have a birthed expectation of how our parents should treat us and behave towards us and love us and show up for us. But that doesn't necessarily match our parents' learned environment. It doesn't really mean anything when we have narcissistic parents or codependent parents or alcoholic parents or sexually abusing parents. It doesn't mean anything because it's our expectation, and we can only have an expectation of ourselves. And that's what I'm asking you to do in being self-aware. I am asking you to show up with an expectation to self. If I have maybe I have hurt feelings at my husband. I'm not married, but I do have an amazing international boyfriend. But if you have hurt feelings at something and you don't tell that other person, are you being honest and forthright in having those hurt feelings? Have you done everything that you can do to communicate to the other person, look, here's what happened and here's how I feel, and then giving them the opportunity to step forward and prove that they are a good fit for your needs, or being realistic that they cannot step forward and meet you on that bridge of conversation and caring about your needs, and that maybe you're not a good fit. Whatever situation we're in, we have to be aware about what we're bringing to it. We have to reduce our ego. We have to grow our ego. If you're codependent, you'll know you have almost no ego in some codependent situations. But if you are a little more overprotective, you're not narcissistic or you wouldn't be listening to this, but you might have high levels of ego that are your protective mechanism from different experiences in your life. Is your overprotective ego activating and you're not showing up for a partner or a child or somebody you love in the way that they need you to? You got to start being really real. Now, I'm not asking you to do this alone. I'm not even trying to sell you anything. This is a free coaching service. And what I would really, really, really ask you to do is, if you notice a discrepancy in your ability to be self-aware and your ability to action healthy advocacy for yourself, reach out and get some help. Go to a support group. Join an online support group. Be anonymous if you need to at the beginning. Go to therapy. Put your name on a therapy list now and start interviewing therapists and seeing who is right for you. Now, you might be screaming at me, I can't afford that, Nita. I'll tell you what, we can afford what we want to. We can find a way to afford what we want to. And there is always a way to find support and help. There is always a way. There are so many organizations in every country has access to the internet, and there are so many international organizations, even just like this podcast, a free tool to help you ground yourself and build a healthier you. So whatever it is that you are facing, look within, be self-aware, be really genuinely reflective on how you can either action it yourself or reach out for help. Reaching out for help is courageous. Being self-aware is courageous. Okay, let's pull all this together and let's sum up kind of what we've learned, what we've practiced, what we've opened in ourselves today. Maybe before we do that, we'll just take a quick deep breath in and out. Bring your nervous system really down within you. Connect with something in your surroundings. Feel the texture of it. Smell in the scents around you. Connect with where you're at. Connect with this moment. Connect with something that brings you present to right now. Visualize that soulful want and desire. Hold that thought. Allow yourself to see the block or the negative energy that you want to challenge and push back on and change, do away with, rid your life of, and now bring that window closed on it. See yourself pull the window down or slide it shut. Hear it click into place and feel that negative energy stop. Feel that energy being held back from you. It's no longer pushing and pulling and demanding on you. It feels nice and peaceful. It feels good in this space with the window closed. You can see it from your soul energy, can see you in this space that's healthy and fulfilling of self. Now see yourself being aware of the soul energy, of the window closed, the energy no longer drawing on you and draining you. And then see yourself actioning whatever the awareness has brought to mind. See yourself actioning. Maybe it's journaling about the self-awareness. Maybe it's journaling about the things that you want to do. Maybe it's pausing this podcast and calling a domestic abuse hotline. Maybe it is filing a police report on a theft from a family member that's just been eating up at you. Maybe it's deciding to have a difficult conversation with somebody who's running over your feelings and your boundaries. Maybe it's just setting a boundary, just saying no. Maybe it's showing up for you. Maybe it's enrolling in a college class. Whatever that action might be, visualize that action. Just see it. And then see yourself walking from the window with no more negative energy to the path of that action. And now visualize yourself taking that action. And how does it feel to take this action? Maybe some fear, but happiness. Maybe some joyousness. Maybe some downright terror. Maybe a uncertainty because you're not sure what's going to happen after that. And that's all okay. Those are okay things. Today is about becoming aware of your role and your place in the life that you are living right now. Now that you've visualized these things, do you feel like it would be something that you could take a step forward? Or do you need some more supports around you before you take a step forward? Even saying, I need some more supports around me, is taking a step forward. That's the beauty of self-awareness. Every single time that you show up for yourself and that you prioritize yourself, no matter where it goes, every single time that you take a step towards becoming, unleashing, unlocking the powerful soul energy that you want leading your life, every single time that you take a step towards that, you are living authentically towards the life that you desire. And that is courageous. That is something to celebrate and be so proud of. As we close out today, I encourage you these things. 1, favorite this podcast. Share this podcast with your friends and your groups, your support groups, because it's important that we pull together. It's important that we share free resources forward. It's important that we continue to build and host deeper conversations to heal people's trauma and to talk about trauma with the reality of other survivors. Because when we survive and we turn that pain into power, that helps other people climb that mountain and unleash the power within them. And that is what Infinity Within is all about, unlocking the joyous possibility of the life that you dream of. One moment at a time, one breath at a time. Welcome to being a bit more self-aware today. I'm really proud of you. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you have a fabulous and blessed day. From Maggie, the bionic dog, and myself, and even Rifle the cat, who's joined us at the end of this episode, I'm proud of you. Keep up the great work, and I'll see you next week. Bye. For now.